Nominee for Virginia's 7th congressional district seat, former Green Beret Derrick Anderson, and the host of Stackleback Tonight, Eric Stackleback. DA, first of all, congratulations on your victory in the primary. Looking forward to the next election coming up in November, correct?
That's correct, sir. Yeah.
Well done. Congrats to you. I want to get your reaction to this quote from a senior official to Axios, again, talking about Benjamin Netanyahu, suggesting that the U.S. is somehow withholding aid and assistance to Israel. It reads partly this way: "It is hard to fathom how a video like the one Netanyahu released on Tuesday helps with deterrence. There is nothing like telling Hezbollah that the U.S. is withholding weapons from Israel, which is false, to make them feel emboldened." Your reaction?
Look, I mean, I understand Netanyahu's frustration, right? Time and time again, we've seen the Biden administration be lackluster, be late in any sort of response. We've seen this happen, whether it was the initial response on October 7th. President Biden spent a decent amount of time waiting to make any sort of response on it. We've seen it even giving advice to Netanyahu and how they need to be conducting military operations. Look, I was a Green Beret on the ground. I fought it on the ground. We used to call that armchair quarterbacking, right? And in this specific situation, what we're seeing is the funding and or the equipment being sent over. The Biden administration on one end wants a ceasefire. He's even negotiated behind Israel's back for a ceasefire. But then 2 seconds later, he turns around and says Israel absolutely has a right to defend themselves. So you can understand Netanyahu's frustration with President Biden and his administration, how they've handled the entire situation.
Interesting point. Eric, what's the strategy here? I'm trying to make sense of it because, as DA just pointed out, on the one hand, they're almost talking out both sides of their mouth. On the one hand, they're saying all the right things. On the other hand, maybe slow walking help. What's the strategy? What's the thinking here if you're the administration?
Kevin, it's tough to figure it out. I'm confused because a few weeks ago, Joe Biden himself said in an interview, "We are withholding an arms shipment to Israel over the Rafah offensive." So the administration themselves have admitted that they're holding up arms shipments to Israel. So Bibi just kind of verified the obvious. Kevin, in terms of strategy, number one, the main strategy for the Biden administration, if you can call it that, is to avoid a larger war at all costs. Why? Because there's an election coming up here in November, and the last thing Joe Biden wants is a major Middle East war. And that means tying Israel's hands, not only in Gaza, but also in the north, Kevin, with, look, Hezbollah, a threat that dwarfs Hamas, armed to the teeth with at least 150,000 rockets and missiles. It's a question not of if, but when Israel is going to have to face down that threat. But again, the Biden administration trying everything to tie Israel's hands there as well. That's the strategy.
Boy, people who don't know the danger in this circumstance, we're talking about Hezbollah. This is a whole other animal here when talking about coming down from Lebanon and what the Israelis could be facing. We're a little short of time here on this segment, but I did want to get your thought on what's happening in New York. Let me play a very quick clip from this subway. They were sort of singling out people. I want you to listen to it and get your reaction.
Raise your hands if you're a Zionist! Raise your hands if you're a Zionist! This is your chance to get out! This is your chance to get out! Okay, no Zionists, we're good.
Police are looking for that guy. 15 seconds. What does this say about where we are right now?
It's not good, Kevin. Not good at all. And, my initial response to that is when we see what just happened over the last couple of months and weeks at our college institutions of higher education with these pro-Hamas protesters, it's no wonder that this type of activity is now bleeding into places like New York City subway systems.
Really incredible. Eric, 10 seconds.
Kevin, is this 1930s Germany or is this New York City? We're at a dangerous, dangerous moment in this country and around the world for the Jewish people, no doubt.
Incredible stuff. Eric and Derrick, thank you, gentlemen, both of you. Appreciate it very much. Coming up, a group of firefighters fired during the pandemic for refusing to